Hey guys, how's it going? Today, I'm going to be featuring the La Foudre, the Tier 7 French battleship that is based off the Jean Bart. Now, this ship isn't exactly a copy pasta of the Jean Bart. It is slightly different, however, in general, it is the same thing. Now, the differences from the Jean Bart, the La Foudre has less main battery range and also slightly less accuracy. However, it does gain some maneuverability and also secondary range, so that now you can build for secondaries and you can get them out to 10.5 kilometers if you do use secondary battery mod Porcupine, Hipper, and Haruna, which I am doing in this game. The commander that I decided to use was Azerlane Dunkirk, mainly because it's a hybrid where I can get accuracy and also use secondary skills in order to get the most out of a secondary battleship. Now, I do think the La Foudre is probably my favorite French battleship at this point, mainly because, well, now I can build for secondaries and pretty much just have a lot of fun with this build. Now, the La Foudre does play very much like a Massachusetts, where you do want to push in and stay angled, allowing your secondaries to start firing on an enemy target and help you by setting fires. The La Foudre secondaries are very much just that, secondaries to start fires. The 100mm secondary guns don't actually pen a lot of ships. The only ships that it can pen are pretty much the light cruisers of tier 6 and destroyers of tier 6. And then once you get to tier 7, the only ships that it can pen are really destroyer superstructures, which is fairly inconsistent. The 152mm secondaries on the stern can pen destroyers and superstructures of battleships. However, since they are located in the rear and are also facing that way, they won't be as much use as the 100mm secondaries that are along the length of your ship. Now, I do start turning out here in order to try and get those 152s to start firing on this enemy La Foudre, but also to try and avoid the ram. And, well, since I'm pretty much just knocking out his turrets, he's been damage conning, and the secondaries with the rate of fire and just having so many of them do set fires relatively quickly. Now, where you see my enhanced secondary targeting consumable, you can have the engine boost consumable in place of the secondary consumable. I just wanted to use the secondary consumable mainly because I had a secondary build and I did want to try and see the full effectiveness of a secondary build. I should also mention that this is actually my very first game in this ship, so this is basically me testing out the capabilities of a secondary build, and it's pretty much doing what I expected. Secondaries not doing a whole lot of pen damage, but it is setting fires and dealing damage in that way. Now, how would I rate this ship compared to the Jean Bart? At least for me, I think it's a lot better and does fit my playstyle of being able to push in, because then the secondaries can actually be effective and do some damage by setting fires. The normal Jean Bart I didn't really find as interesting because, well, even this ship you simply just sit bow in, which basically this is just one of those simple ships to play, and it's really not as enjoyable to do. But now having some secondary range and some decent secondary effectiveness, we can now move around and try to find angles where our secondaries can start firing, and then also gets us moving around instead of sitting bow in and spawn, or simply sitting bow in near an island. If we do end up sitting bow in near an island in this ship, however, we do have some secondaries again to help us out in essentially holding that position. Now, unfortunately, our friendly destroyer has basically YOLO'd into the entire enemy team and did end up dying without killing anything. So now that enemy destroyer that was on our flank and now last spotted over there with the rest of the team, I can't exactly push in. Now, with this Friesland opening up, usually with a secondary battleship, you would use your enhanced secondary consumable in order to do some damage to them. However, the 100mm secondaries don't actually pen destroyer hulls, like I said, so it really didn't make a whole lot of sense to use it on it. So instead, I use it against the enemy La Foudre in order to have it try and set some fires. The Jean Bart's secondary firing angles are not the greatest, at least in terms of the rear half of the 100mm guns. The front half does have some pretty good firing angles and can actually get off when you are pretty much steeply angled or almost about in. But if you are trying to get all of your secondaries to fire, you're pretty much going to be sailing broadside, which you definitely don't want to be doing. You might be wondering, after everything I've told you about the secondaries, not penning destroyers and really only relying on fires, not having secondary angles to get all of them firing at the same time without giving broadside, why would I ever build for secondaries on this ship? Well, it's mainly to have fun, and also for those of you that don't actually have the original Jean Bart, this is probably the closest ship that you will be getting to it. I don't think that's a ship that they will release considering its popularity and how easy and simple it is to play. I personally think that at some point in the future the Jean Bart and even the Lenin will get that CE designation and then have some modification to it that it's basically not going to perform the same. And I do know the Jean Bart is one of those ships that a lot of players have highly sought after, and well, this is your chance. With that being said, I definitely think this is a ship that's worth getting, even if you have the original Jean Bart, mainly because, well, you have secondaries now and can have fun in it. Obviously, if you don't like to push in and you do like sitting in spawn and staying as far away sniping with these kinds of ships, then this probably isn't for you. If you don't have the original Jean Bart, well, this is your chance to get a ship that's extremely similar to it. And like I said, I'm pretty sure that the Jean Bart and Lenin are both going to eventually get those CE designations, mainly because they're extremely popular and also perform very well. Now here we do have a lower tier destroyer in the Lebrecht Maz, and this is where the secondaries can actually deal some damage to destroyers, mainly because the lower tier destroyers are not as armored as the tier 7s or higher tier destroyers. Unfortunately, now we do have the enemy mines starting to HE spam us, and well, these French secondaries and really all AA mounts are extremely fragile. And as soon as any ship really starts HE spamming you, you will notice your secondaries get destroyed extremely quickly. But it's also not just the French battleships that are destroyed extremely quickly. All battleships that have secondaries tend to get destroyed extremely quickly, even Massachusetts, which usually happens every game, and it is quite annoying that the secondaries don't have any way to increase their survivability, especially when you are trying to go for a secondary build. It is unfortunate. Hopefully Wargaming does add a way to increase the survivability at some point, but as of right now, they are extremely fragile. The enemy mines is not playing as carefully as he can, and well, he does end up turning broadside. However, he is using a skill that reduces the damage that is dealt to his cruiser, so unfortunately I do not end up dev striking him, and well, if you did have an accuracy build with drill bits, you may have actually been able to kill him off there. Now this enemy Richelieu is just reversing bow into our friendlies that's pushing it through Charlie. My first salvo, I do get a Citadel and chunk him for quite a bit. And well, we do have 4 kills, and all we really need to do now is just shoot at him one more time, and we will most likely kill him off, securing our Kraken. He starts moving forward, I fire, and unfortunately I do get 1 pen and 3 overpens. Not having an accuracy build does sometimes end up trolling you, but at the same time, probably wouldn't have been nearly as fun. My guns reload in 5 seconds, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to get the kill. However, the Iowa out of left field at Alpha does end up killing him off. First game in the La Foudre, it's definitely one of the ships that I am going to be playing quite a bit more. 196,000 damage and 3,500 base XP, 4 kills. Unfortunately, no Kraken in my first game. I feel like if I had $1 for every game that I had 4 kills and had some just slip away, I would probably have over $1,000. Considering that I am near 25,000 battles, I'd say that that number is relatively accurate. Anyway, going over my build, I am using a Zerlane Dunkirk with a secondary build. Now, it is unfortunate that we can't have presets or loadouts because now I do have to switch back my inspirations if I do end up using any other French battleships. Although, I don't really see myself playing other French battleships except the La Foudre for quite a while, especially because it's new and just a boatload of fun. That's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more, or leave a comment down below for any other ships you want to see in the future. But until next time, aloha.